The first day of the new year.
The day when many families were still resting. Happy New Year, everyone! Let's make some wonderful plans. Yes, to a fresh start and new goals.
But in Cohasset, Massachusetts, the first day of 2023 began with a strange disappearance.
You just have to trust that everything will be okay in the end. I have dedicated my career to building bridges and finding innovative solutions. My journey has been defined by determination and a commitment to excellence.
From the outside, Anna's life seemed to have many things other people would admire.
She was the mother of 3 young children. She had a job. A life that seemed normal in a quiet coastal town in Massachusetts.
Cohasset was not the kind of place people usually imagine becoming the center of a case that would shock America.
Peaceful roads, completely quiet. Family houses.
A place where neighbors knew each other. But in early January 2023, that silence began to mean something else.
I am not convinced that we have heard the whole story.
At first, the story sounded like a delay. Maybe the schedule had changed. Maybe it was only a misunderstanding. But as more hours passed, the simple explanations began to feel harder to believe.
Anyone seen her? She's not answering. I'm worried.
And then the first question appeared.
Where is Ana?
At first, that question was only the fear of the people close to her. But very quickly, it became a missing person case investigated by police.
A final phone call. The journey continued along the coastal highway. A message. A witness.
Because it was not only that Ana disappeared.
There were also questions around the last person close to her. The truth, the whole truth. It's a complicated matter. The evidence points to a premeditated act, executed with a disturbing level of precision.
He spoke about what had happened.
The timeline reveals a clear narrative path, starting with the family home, leading to digital evidence, and charting the husband's story through to the final verdict. Spoke about Ana leaving the house.
Spoke about things that, according to him, were normal. But in a case, sometimes what stands out is not what a person says. It's what was done.
It is what does not match.
Time.
The timeline of the missing person case. Footsteps tracking movements, digital schedule. Cameras. Receipts. And then internet search data.
This is what made the Ana Walshe case especially terrifying.
There was no clear answer from the beginning. There was no simple ending. The timeline aligns with the search area.
Check the surveillance footage again.
We need more resources here.
Every hour in the schedule.
Every item that was purchased.
Every location that appeared.
Every action after Ana disappeared. The timeline traces the investigation from New Year's Day, through the missing mother report, the husband's story, and the digital searches.
And then, something chilling began to appear in the investigation file.
Where is the body? Why the lies? What truly happened on New Year's Day?
In the modern age, people leave traces everywhere. Phones.
Did you check the browser history? Yes, but there's nothing here.
Cameras. Bank cards.
Search history.
And sometimes, those seemingly invisible traces tell a story no one wants to hear. It was also the story of how technology can pull the truth out of the darkness. A person can stay silent. A person can lie. A person can create a different timeline. But data does not disappear easily. Cameras do not know pity.
Receipts do not know how to hide.
Search history does not know how to forget. And each small piece slowly turned a disappearance into a murder case. The most painful thing is that at the center of it all were not files, not evidence, not lines of searches on a computer.
The heart of a home, filled with the echoes of laughter, pages turned, and drawings hung.
A woman with a life, a family, a job, and a future ahead of her.
She entered the new year like everyone else.
The Ana Walshe case, documentary reference board, 6-chapter story flow. 1. New Year's Day. 2.
Not because of success.
But because she had disappeared.
And from that moment, Cohasset was no longer just a peaceful town. It became the beginning of one of the most haunting cases in Massachusetts. No body found. A case built with data, cameras, receipts, schedules, and internet searches. A case that made all of America ask the same question.
What really happened to Ana Walshe?
When an adult disappears, people sometimes do not panic immediately.
Because life always has reasons that sound reasonable.
A business trip that changed.
A missed call.
A delayed flight.
A phone with a dead battery. A busy schedule.
And in the first few hours, people often try to believe the simplest explanation.
Maybe Ana was just busy.
Maybe she had gone somewhere. Maybe everything was not as serious as people thought. She was a mother.
She had 3 young children.
She had a job. She had a schedule.
She had people waiting for her to appear. And when a person like that suddenly is not where she is supposed to be, silence begins to become frightening.
Where is she? She's not picking up. She'd leave for work exactly at 7.
Oh, no.
Always had her phone. I'd see her calendar on the fridge.
Then that worry spread to work.
Ana did not appear as expected.
There was no clear explanation.
There was no answer that made people feel safe.
And little by little, the question, "Where is Ana?" was no longer a private question.
It became a missing person report. The police entered the story. What had previously sounded like a personal delay now became an investigation.
Cohasset, the quiet coastal town in Massachusetts, began appearing on the news.
A place used to peace now had to face a chilling question.
How did a mother disappear from her own life?
Investigators began looking at the final hours when Ana was believed to have been at home.
They needed to know what she had done. Who she had spoken to.
Where she had planned to go. Whether she had really left the house, as the initial story suggested. And who was the last person to see her? In missing person cases, the timeline is always the most important thing.
Because if people know the exact time, they can begin to understand the truth.
One action that does not match can reveal a crack. One small camera by the road can break a statement apart. One shopping receipt can become evidence. Internet searches. What did Ana Walshe search?
But at first, none of that was clear yet. Ana, where are you? Ana did not appear. Brian said Ana had left the house.
He said she had plans to go on a work trip. But in an investigation, words are only the starting point.
They have to be checked.
They have to be compared with data.
They have to be placed beside cameras, receipts, phones, locations, and real actions.
Because the truth is not about whether a person's story sounds reasonable. The truth is about whether that story can stand when the evidence appears.
And very quickly, the story around Ana's disappearance began to have problems.
Not because of one single piece of evidence. Not because of one single moment.
But because many small details began to make everything feel unusual.
Periods of time that needed to be explained. Trips.
And the closer investigators looked, the more they saw that this no longer looked like a woman who had simply gone away.
Yeah.
It began to look like a story that had been constructed.
The Ana Walshe Case, Documentary Reference Board, January 1st.
A peaceful town suddenly became the center of attention. And one question kept repeating on the news. Where did Ana Walshe go? But there was one problem that made this case even harder.
There was no body.
There was no direct answer.
There was no clear moment to end the fear.
There was only absence.
And that absence forced investigators to do the hardest thing in a case like this.
They had to prove what happened using what was left behind.
not with an initial confession. Not with a witness who saw the entire event.
But with data.
With behavior. With things people usually think are small.
A receipt. A road. A time point. A search. A search.
What did he say?
What did he do? Where did he go? What did he buy? What did he search for online? And most importantly, in many cases, the truth does not appear like one loud explosion. It appears like one small crack.
Then another crack.
Then one more crack.
Until the entire wall begins to collapse.
A missing mother. I just want her to come home.
A town waiting for answers. But what no one expected was that those pieces of data would lead to the most frightening part of the case. Questions that, if they were as described in investigation records, no longer looked like normal curiosity. They looked like darkness, recorded in words. And when those searches were brought into the light, Ana Walshe's disappearance was no longer a normal mystery. It became a case that made all of America shiver. Because sometimes a person can disappear from the real world. But the truth about them begins to appear in the digital world. Not because that person is definitely guilty, but because that person may be the one who knows the most.
The timeline reveals a sequence of events. New Year's Day, the mother's disappearance, the husband's contradictory story.
The person who knows the habits.
January 1st, New Year's Day. He was Anna's husband.
The person who lived with her in the house in Cohasset. The person believed to have seen her during the final hours before everything became unusual.
According to Brian, Anna left the house early on January 1, 2023.
She was supposed to go on a work trip. She was supposed to go to Washington, D.C.
She was supposed to leave home to begin a normal work journey. If that story was true, at first everything could sound fairly reasonable.
I have always been deeply committed to my work, finding fulfillment in both my career and my family life.
But the frightening thing in an investigation is that sometimes a story that sounds reasonable does not mean it is true.
It only means it needs to be checked.
And Brian's story was the same. And Brian's story was the same.
Investigators could not simply hear one account and accept it.
They needed to know whether Anna had really left the house.
Whether she had really gotten into a vehicle.
Whether she had really gone to the airport.
Whether she had really boarded a flight.
Whether she had really arrived in Washington, D.C.
Because if someone says Anna left home for a work trip, there should be a trace.
A ride.
A plane ticket.
Check-in information.
A message.
A sign that she had truly begun the trip.
But when investigators began checking, more and more questions appeared.
Not everything in the story was easy to confirm. Not every detail fit.
And Anna's silence made the timeline even more frightening. If Anna had really left, why could no one contact her?
If Anna had really gone on a work trip, why did her work not see her appear?
If Anna was really on her way to Washington, why were the normal traces of a trip not clear? From here, the investigation began to shift direction. It was no longer only the question of where Anna was. It became the question of whether Brian's story was true. He spoke about Anna leaving the house. He spoke about the things he did afterward. We began tracking his internet searches.
He spoke about the places he had gone.
But each of those words had to face something colder than a story.
Evidence. Because evidence does not care whether a story sounds normal.
Cameras do not care whether a person seems calm.
Receipts do not care where a person says they went.
Data does not care what a person wants others to believe. It only records what happened.
The time is 9:45 p.m.
The time is 11:30 p.m.
The time is 2:15 a.m. The time is 7 a.m.
Every transaction. Every movement.
A timeline that was no longer clean.
A story that was no longer simple.
This was when a disappearance began to become a minute-by-minute examination. Investigators had to look at the morning of January 1.
Look at the house in Cohasset.
Look at the roads around it.
Look at nearby cameras.
Look at the phone.
Look at the schedule.
The actions after Ana was no longer seen. The internet searches, a case file without a body, and the verdict. In a case without a body, the timeline almost becomes the backbone of the entire story.
If there is no body, there is no direct answer.
If there is no witness who saw the entire event, there is no complete picture from the beginning.
So investigators had to rebuild that picture with small pieces.
Not only because he was Anna's husband,
but because of what he said. A statement can begin as a story. Brian's statement. Brian stated Ana left the house. Character lock, Brian neutral. Scene lock, do not show Ana physically leaving.
but investigators needed to see traces of that departure.
But investigators needed to see whether that schedule was truly normal.
But investigators needed to know whether he really did those things the way he described.
And little by little, attention began to shift from where Ana went to what Brian did. What places did he drive through?
Where did he appear on camera?
What did he buy?
What did he search for online? It did not begin with one overly clear moment. There was no single scene that explained everything. There was no simple answer falling right in front of people. Instead, everything began with suspicion. Then a question.
Then another question.
Then a detail that did not match. Then a piece of data that needed to be explained.
A missing person can leave silence behind.
But the person left behind can leave traces. And in this case, those traces began to appear everywhere.
On the streets. On the streets.
In stores.
When police began to suspect that Brian had not told the whole truth, the case entered a new stage.
But also checking Brian. No longer only seeing how she disappeared. We are now reconstructing the timeline of events. But also seeing who may have known more than they said.
And what pulled the public into this case was exactly that feeling.
A quiet house.
Each small piece may not have been enough to explain the entire truth.
But when placed beside one another, they began to create a darker image. An image that made people understand that this no longer looked like a mistaken business trip.
No longer like a busy woman losing contact.
No longer like a misunderstanding on New Year's Day.
It began to look like a case. Because if Ana did not really leave the house, as the initial story said, then what happened inside that house? If she did not get into a vehicle, if she did not board a plane,
If she did not arrive in Washington.
this is the question that moved the case into the next part.
Because after the timeline began to have problems, investigators discovered something even more frightening.
Not just a trip that was hard to explain.
Jan 1, 2022, what was Ana Walshe searching for? 387 days later, what's missing? Search query analysis. Brian Walshe's testimony versus evidence.
Where could she be? Why did he do it? What happened to her?
And they would turn Brian's story from suspicious into chilling. In earlier times, a case could depend on witnesses.
One person saw something.
One person remembered one small detail. But in the modern age, people do not only leave traces in the real world. Every time they open a phone,
Every time they use a computer.
every time they pass a camera, every time they type a question into a search engine, all of it can become part of the truth.
After Brian's timeline began to have problems, investigators no longer looked only at his words.
They looked at cameras.
They looked at purchase history. They looked at the places where he had appeared.
And then they looked at the computer.
There, they found searches that changed the entire case. Questions typed into the internet. Lines of words that seem to exist only on a screen. Because these were no longer normal questions. Not directions. Not work information.
Not ways to contact Ana.
They were questions about death, hiding, cleaning, decomposition, and how to handle a body. Just hearing that, everything in the story immediately changed.
She left home for a work trip.
But on an electronic device, searches appeared that no one wanted to see in a missing person case.
Because those searches felt like a window,
opening into a very dark thought. No longer like the confusion of someone looking for his wife. No longer like someone who simply did not know what had happened.
Something more planned. Something colder. What did Brian know? Mandalay Enrido, Wendelin Puriswood. And when did he know it?
The important thing in this case was that Ana still had not been found.
No body found.
Because of that, the internet searches became even more important.
They did not stand alone, but they became a large piece of the puzzle.
Beside the cameras.
Beside the receipts.
Beside the items that were bought.
Beside the trips after Ana disappeared. And the more they were placed together, the darker the picture became. Investigators saw time points.
One question searched at one time. Then another question. Then one more question.
A footprint that did not walk on the ground. But moved through data. Through something people think can disappear. But the internet does not forget as easily as people think.
Then one more question.
A person can change the story they tell. I don't remember.
But the data remains there.
The time remains there.
The device remains there.
The connection is live.
Encrypted files incoming.
Analyze traffic patterns.
In the courtroom, these searches became a central part of the story.
Because prosecutors did not only want to prove that Brian had lied. They wanted to prove that what happened after Ana disappeared was not random panic. It was a planned sequence. Not meaningless actions.
Not a chain of misunderstandings.
But a chain of actions with meaning.
A chain of actions that could be read through data. First came the searches, then the cameras.
Then the purchases.
Then the movement. Then the trash bags. Then the places where the subject appeared. And one by one, they began to form a chain. A chain that prosecutors argued led from the house in Cohasset to the acts of concealment afterward. Surveillance camera footage became important.
Not because it captured the entire truth,
but because it showed movement.
It showed times that could not be explained by a simple story. Ordinary surveillance moment frozen on a caseboard. But in a case, the most normal thing can also become evidence.
A person walks into a store.
That'll be $82.40. Here's my card, and here's your receipt. Thank you.
It becomes a question.
Why buy those items?
Why at that time?
Why after Ana was no longer appearing?
Then came the receipts. A receipt is very small.
Many people throw it away after buying something.
Many people never think about it again.
But in an investigation, a receipt can become a clock. It tells time.
It tells location.
It says that a person was there.
And it does not need emotion.
It does not need memory.
It only records.
Search history also recorded.
And when all of them point in one direction, a person's words begin to lose their strength.
But the data told another story. And that is what made this case chilling.
Not only because Ana disappeared,
but because after she disappeared, too many things began to appear. Too many questions.
Too many traces. The Ana Walshe case is a complex web of events spanning from New Year's Day to a mysterious verdict. Let's delve into the evidence.
the public was drawn into the case because of exactly that feeling. No single piece holds the key. The truth is scattered.
But was scattered across hundreds of small pieces. One search. One search. One purchase.
One camera clip.
One trip. One time point. One piece of evidence.
One trash bag. It was the crucial piece of evidence they needed.
One statement that did not match.
And all of those things pulled viewers deeper into the question.
Because if Ana had really just left home for a work trip, why were there searches like that?
If everything was only a misunderstanding, why did the actions afterward make police so suspicious?
There was no simple answer.
But one thing became increasingly clear.
In the quiet dignity of her portrait, she remains. But the inquiry has shifted, and now all that remains is the data.
It had become the story of a system of digital evidence. A system that does not sleep.
And does not need a confession to begin telling the truth.
The most frightening thing was that Ana could not tell her own story.
She could not tell police what happened. Could not say when everything changed.
Could not say who was the last person with her.
Could not say why she never appeared in Washington, D.C.
Could not say why she disappeared from her life.
But the data began to speak.
The cameras began to speak.
The receipts began to speak. They told a story of last-minute purchases, hurried movements, and a desperate cover-up.
Where is she?
What did you do with the body?
I don't know where she is.
The search history says otherwise.
And one by one, they created a story no one wanted to hear.
January 1st. The search for the missing mother begins. The husband's story and internet searches reveal a different truth.
In cases without a body, prosecutors have to do something very difficult.
The death was not an accident.
And they have to do all of that without the clearest answer.
No body.
The determined cause of death is undetermined.
No final moment fully recorded. So every piece of the puzzle became important. Every search.
Every camera.
Every receipt.
Every location. every action. Not because it had one clear scene.
Every camera.
From things so small that many people usually ignore them.
From traces a person might think are invisible.
But to an investigator, nothing is truly invisible.
A question on Google can become evidence.
A receipt can become a time point. A store camera can become a silent witness. A phone can become a map. A small piece of data can break a large story. And the deeper investigators dug, the closer they moved toward a frightening conclusion.
Someone knew more than they said.
Someone had left traces.
Analyzing the digital evidence trail, we connect the data points. The case file is now comprehensive. Data analyzed. Conclusion reached.
This chapter does not end with a body being found.
It does not end with a complete confession.
It does not end with a gentle answer. It ends with something even more frightening. A case without a body. But with too much data. And when the data began to speak, the question was no longer,
what was Brian trying to hide?
in many murder cases, the body is the biggest piece of evidence. It can show how a person died. Where they died.
Around what time they died.
And sometimes it can point directly to the person who caused that death.
But in this specific case, that did not exist.
No body.
No clear final scene. No single moment that allowed investigators to say, everything ended here.
And that is exactly what made the case so much more difficult.
Welcome to the reference board for the Ana Walshe case, detailing the investigation process from the initial disappearance to the final verdict.
They have to prove that the death was not an accident.
Not with one single piece of evidence. But with a series of small pieces. A statement that did not match. A purchase receipt. An appearance on the road. The internet searches revealed. The laptop held the answers they needed. A piece of physical evidence that was found. Each thing by itself might only be a detail. But when all of them are placed beside each other, they begin to form a story. A story prosecutors believed was no longer a coincidence.
Brian said Ana left home for a work trip.
But investigators did not find clear traces showing that she had truly begun that trip. But those actions made the questions grow larger and larger.
If Ana had only gone on a work trip, why did she not appear? If Ana was okay, why could no one contact her?
This was when the case no longer revolved around one simple question: where is Ana?
It became a different question.
The Ana Walshe case. A chronological inquiry into the subject's actions and whereabouts. Prosecutors did not need a recording of the entire event. They did not need a witness who saw everything from beginning to end. They built the case with the logic of data. Cameras showed movement.
Where were you on January 1st? What did Brian do in the morning? How long was he gone? Where are the keys?
Physical evidence showed that something had happened after Ana no longer appeared. And the timeline showed that Brian's story had begun to crack. In a case without a body, every small detail becomes heavier. A receipt is no longer just a receipt. It becomes a time point. A store camera is no longer just a store camera.
It becomes a silent witness.
An internet search is no longer an invisible line of words. It becomes part of intent. An action after Ana disappeared is no longer a normal action. It becomes a question that must be explained.
The Ana Walshe case, a timeline of digital evidence, courtroom proceedings, and the ongoing search for answers.
Not because there was a clear answer from the beginning. But because the answer was pulled out of the smallest things. From the digital records. Analyzing feed 5, accessing Cohasset data. Confirmed, tracking established, watch for any anomalies. From traces that many people think can disappear. But the more pieces appeared, the clearer the image became. A peaceful town became the focus of an investigation. And a case without a body was slowly built in court. But is there any innocent explanation for all of this data? Is there any way all those searches, those receipts, those cameras, those actions were only coincidence? Or were all of them pointing in the same direction? And in the end, the answer of the law was given. A case without a body still reached a conclusion.
But for Ana's family, no sentence could make everything return to the way it was.
Three children lost their mother.
And one question still remained in the darkness. A case can end inside a courtroom.
But pain does not end there.
For the law, the biggest question is whether the evidence is enough. Enough to confirm that a person is no longer with us. Enough to prove that the death was a crime.
No body.
No goodbye.
No final place where her family could see her.
Only a timeline rebuilt from small pieces left behind.
And finally, all those pieces were placed before the jury.
The courtroom became the place where the story was told again.
Not through emotion alone,
but through each piece of data.
Each time point.
Each time point.
Each time point. Each time point. Each statement.
Each point that did not match.
they said what happened after New Year's Day was not random.
Not a misunderstanding. But a chain of actions with purpose.
And because of that, the final question still had to be placed before the court.
Did Brian kill Ana Walshe?
No longer a question for the news.
The verdict is in.
The jury finds the defendant guilty.
It was a legal question.
A question only the jury could answer.
They had to look at the whole picture. Not one separate piece.
Not one separate search.
Not one separate receipt.
But all of it
The neutral character profile provides no specific identification, yet it remains a central point of reference on the board.
Everything the data recorded.
Everything the cameras saw. Everything the timeline revealed. Missing context. Unexplained transition.
In a case without a body, doubt is always very large.
Because without a body, the defense can say there are still gaps.
There are still unknowns.
There are still unanswered questions. There are still other possibilities.
But prosecutors do not need to erase every mystery from the world. They need to prove the crime beyond a reasonable doubt.
And in this case, they believed the pieces had spoken clearly enough.
Cameras do not speak with tears.
Receipts do not speak with anger.
Search history does not speak with mercy.
But when all of them stand beside one another, they create a very cold voice.
The original story no longer stood. Ana did not simply leave home. And then the verdict was delivered. A case without a body still reached a legal conclusion.
A mother disappeared at the beginning of the new year.
Do you see anything?
Just wait.
They're still not here.
Mommy, is he coming home?
A community followed every piece of news.
And finally, the law gave its decision.
But the verdict could not bring Ana back.
It could not return the mother to 3 children.
Could not return the daughter to her family.
Could not return the normal days before everything happened. Could not erase the emptiness Ana left behind.
That is the most painful truth in every case.
A court can sentence.
A file can be closed.
The news can move to another story.
But for the victim's family, the case never truly ends.
Because every day afterward is still a day without Ana.
Every family meal is still missing one person.
Every memory still has an empty space.
Every question from the children still carries pain that no sentence can fully heal.
That was the answer of the legal system. That was the end of the legal part of the case. But not the end of everything. Because one question still remained. A question the verdict could not fully answer. A question that had followed the case from the very first days.
Where is Ana Walshe?
Not finding a body meant the family still had no clear final place.
The verdict leaves behind only symbolic peace, not complete peace.
An age when people can lie.
Can hide.
Can build a timeline.
They can try to turn the truth into darkness. But the data is still there.
Cameras are still there.
Search history is still there.
The small pieces are still there.
And sometimes, those small pieces are what pull the truth out of darkness.
It was a case about what remains after someone disappears.
The traces. The questions. The cold data.
And the pain of those left behind.
But her case was told through things the modern world does not easily erase.
Where are you?
Stuck in traffic, I'll be late.
Get here now. Missed call, unknown number.
A receipt. The schedule outlines our milestones.
Where is the body buried?
How to dispose of a body.
A small trace. Then another trace.
Then another trace. Then another.
Until the story could no longer be completely hidden.
Not only because a mother disappeared.
Not only because no body was found.
Not only because the husband was convicted. But because it showed a very cold truth.
In the digital age, it is not only people who testify.
Data testifies too.
Cameras testify too.
Receipts testify too. The internet testifies too.
And when all those silent witnesses speak together, they can take a case without a body all the way into a courtroom.
All the way to a verdict. All the way to legal truth.
You gave us everything, Ana. Your love, your strength, your beautiful heart. You will forever be missed. A life. A name her family will never forget.
What remained was the reminder that behind every crime file, there is always a real person who was lost.
Ana Walshe was not just a name in the news.
She was a mother of 3 children. She was the daughter of a family.
She was a person with a life, a future, and people who loved her.
And although the law gave an answer about who was responsible, the story still ended with incomplete pain. A case had a verdict. A system of evidence had spoken.
The search focused here, but the location remained silent.